see myself heading into a place I don't want to be, and I know I could just get lost in a version of me I'd rather not see. Then I think of all the people that help me find my voice, that shine like a beacon of love. And so when I am lost and confused, I'll try to remember there's always a way to search for the good, to keep reaching within, to find the compassion for the world that I'm in. Oh, the light on that sunny day when I met you. I heard you fought for her cause and all that she loved, but the tide turned on you. And so now the battle goes on, with the world seeing all as you fight for the truth. But I want you to know that you're not on your own, 'cause you shine like a beacon of love. And so when I am lost and confused, I'll try to remember there's always a way to search for the good, to keep reaching within, to find the compassion for the world that I'm in. Oh, the light. Oh, when I am lost and confused, I'll try to remember there's always a way to search for the good, to keep reaching within, to find the compassion for the world that I'm in. Oh, the light on that sunny day when I met you. When I met you.
So welcome to another Restore Live. Restore Live can out on Facebook to Restore UK, also to the British Unionist People's Voice, and to Forgotten Voices Media on Facebook. And also you'll find this stream on YouTube. That's to Restore Live on YouTube. We thought it would be best to keep the channels that we are broadcasting to a minimum, so that the stream comes across as okay, because the more channels that you add, you get some buffering. Tonight is, I guess, a very special night, a night of remembrance, remembering Dennis Hutchings. And, you know, over the past number of years, I mean, who in the United Kingdom, whether you be in Northern Ireland, whether you be in England, Scotland, or Wales, who right across the United Kingdom doesn't know the name of Dennis Hutchings? And tonight you're going to learn perhaps some things that you don't know about Dennis Hutchings. and why that it was, why that it is that Dennis felt the need to fight to prove his innocence. Dennis was an old man. Dennis was 80 years of age, and Dennis would have been typical of that old phrase about the Northern Ireland veterans being persecuted and prosecuted and taken from their bed in their old age to face trial, whilst IRA terrorists, whilst the terrorists have immunity from prosecution. Make no mistake about it, the IRA terrorists have immunity from prosecution, effectively an amnesty. So why is it that Dennis Hutchings was taken to Northern Ireland to face trial for something that happened way back in 1972, all those years ago? And you will hear in Dennis's own words that if someone does wrong, well, they should face the full rigors of the law. And that's no matter why that you're law enforcement. That's no matter why that you were part of the military, the Ministry of Defence. That's no matter who you are, whether you're an ordinary citizen, whether you're a politician, whether you're a policeman, whoever you are. If you do the wrong thing, you should be subject to and equal under the same law. And that's the premise of our law enforcement in this country. But yet that was turned in its head whenever this military veteran, when he was taken to Northern Ireland to face trial, but yet those that have caused the circumstances to bring him to Northern Ireland, IRA terrorists specifically, those people, whilst they had immunity from prosecution, this man, even though he wasn't a very well man, he was taken to Northern Ireland to be put before a diplock court without a jury to be tried for the murder of a man in 1972. And as you'll hear from the testament of Dennis himself, given 3 weeks ago, and as you'll hear from Dennis's solicitor as he explains fully why that it was that Dennis Hutchings was in court in the first place, and he outlines Dennis's defence. This is what you're about to hear on this screen this evening, and I hope that it leaves you with the same thoughts, the same thought processes as the people here at Restore and at Forgotten Voices Media, who has poured over the evidence like we have done in the past few days. So I hope that you enjoy what it is that we're about to show, and in the spirit of remembrance for a man, some would say a hero, a man that would give himself to serve and protect the people of Northern Ireland, the people of the United Kingdom, by offering himself to stand between terrorism and a sense of normality for the people of Northern Ireland. You might be able to hear it in my voice, and I hope that my voice changes as I go. But, after listening to that song there from Susie Stanford, a song that was written after Susie had met Dennis, and Susie gave us the authorization to use that song at the start of her screen. I feel pretty choked up as a result of listening to that and looking at the video footage at the start of what we played. And we have, I would say, a real testament to the man, Dennis Hutchings, at the very end of this screen. And we decided to play what we have at the end because I don't believe that I personally would be able to talk after listening to what it is that we have lined up at the end of this screen. So we'd like to just ask each and every one of you to share this screen, share it far and wide, tag people into the live chat. You can share this screen from Restore UK, from Forgotten Voices Media, also from the British Unionist People's Voice. You can share on to Facebook, right around social media, in order that people come to listen and learn about who some folk would actually try to demonize, but yet of all, the evidence would suggest something completely different. I'm about to let you hear some testament given by Dennis three weeks ago. And, at the very, very end of this testament, Dennis actually revealed something that I didn't know, and which makes this case even more sad. Listen to Dennis. Please share the screen and please tag people into the live chat. And if you're new here, give us a like, give us a love, make it known that you're here by mentioning on the live chat. And that way, what we will be able to do is we'll get to invite you to our channel in order that you can see more of what we do as the weeks and months go on. Over to Dennis speaking 3 weeks ago. Just listen to this, and then whenever we come back, we're going to commence with bringing in some guests to talk about their associations with Dennis Hutchings and why that it was that they decided that they wanted to stand with and get behind Dennis Hutchings in his quest to clear his name and in order that justice would be truly served.
Major effect on me and my family. Basically it came out of the blue after 40 years. They said, well, contact your lawyers, but I didn't have any lawyers because it was 40 years since the incident, of which I'd been cleared, They were supposed to take me to the nearest police station to be held, and they didn't. They took me to a police station which is called Bridgewater, where they put me in the cell there while they went and had their lunch, and then they came back, picked me up and took me to Bristol, and then flew here. I was held in Antrim police station for 4 days. I was questioned 26 times, when you're talking about 45-minute interviews. And no new evidence was ever produced. I just thought, what the hell's this all about? This is the biggest load of crap going, I'll tell you. I've been a courtier numerous times between 2015 and now. I've even been in front of a judge who threw out the charges, the attempted murder charge, and 6 weeks later, I get dragged back in front of a different judge who reinstates it. One judge throws it out, he reinstates it, and that's when this thing became, to me, purely political.
Isn't it fair that if there was wrong done in the past, that people must be brought to justice?
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And, but let's talk about justice for people, families and all that. But at the same time, let's talk about the justice for the 18 soldiers killed at Warren Point. Has there been an inquiry into that? No. What about the people that was killed at Inniskillen? Families, men, women, kids. Was there an inquiry into that? Yeah. And plus the hundreds of other incidents that have gone on, committed by both sides, some of them, but they're not investigated the same as what they're trying to investigate the military, who are sent here by the bloody government to do a job.
What, in your eyes, then, has led to this situation where soldiers are being brought back decades later?
Because we're easy targets. Everything, the soldier does, from the minute a round is fired, a shot is fired, it's reported over the radio. It's logged in the logbook in the control room. Then the conversations, as whatever happens, gets done exactly the same. So there's a record. Talking about the other side, the terrorist sides, there is no records. My consultant has given me roughly 6 months to live with the problems I've got. So that's why I want to get this done before I die.
my consultant has given me 6 months to live, and that's why I wanted to get this done before I die. How many of us knew that we knew that Dennis was ill? We knew that he was on dialysis 3 days of his week. Just recently, myself and the lady who wrote that song at the very, very start of the stream, Susie Stanford, we had been interacting with Dennis online, and we had agreed to do a live stream here at Restore UK live to talk about some music that was written for and on behalf of Dennis, also stuff that Dennis had some input into himself. I never got to do that interview with Dennis. This week, myself and Jim Werner, we were to go to the courthouse in Belfast, and then we learned 2 days ago that Dennis, whilst trying to clear his name, whilst trying to prove that he was an innocent man, well, given that he was a vulnerable individual because of his illness, he put himself, I guess, in jeopardy, and he paid the price. But ask yourself a question: should Dennis Hutchings ever have had to come to Belfast to stand trial for something that happened in 1972? And we're not here to say that things didn't go wrong, because of course things went wrong here in Northern Ireland. But let's remember the reasons as to why that not only Dennis Hutchings, but other people from within the British Army, let's remember the reasons why they came to Northern Ireland in the first place. They came to stand between warring factions, putting themselves at risk, putting themselves at danger, often being fired upon by IRA terrorists. They done that in a selfless way. And they done that in order that the people of Northern Ireland, in order that the people of the United Kingdom could have a sense of normality, as opposed to the terrorism that was being thrust upon them in a political way. Dennis Hutchings, to some people that Dennis actually protected, to some, Dennis was an invader. To others who see things in the way that they were, Dennis Hutchings was a hero, an absolute hero. And you hear him whenever he's speaking in that interview, whenever he said that people should be made amenable to the law for the things that they would do wrong. But when we listen to later in the stream, when we listen to Dennis's solicitor outline the case in a way that couldn't be done before Dennis's death, you'll begin to learn and you'll begin to understand why that it was that Dennis Hutchings felt so passionate about clearing his name, even although that he knew that he had 6 months to live. What was of paramount importance to Dennis Hutchings was to clear his name. And that, my friends, is a testament to a man that many people, the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, has said that he was a decent man, that he was an honourable man. And I would add to that, and I would suggest that he was a man that gave himself in order that the people of Northern Ireland, in order that they could live a life free from IRA terrorism. What I would like to do is I would like to bring in a guest, one of our first guests here. And I would like to bring this man on our screen and basically chat to him about why that this man felt the need to organise a support for Dennis Hutchings each and every time that he came to Northern Ireland. And this is another man that had done things in a selfless way. In Northern Ireland, you can put yourself at risk by standing at Belfast courts, especially whenever you're supporting veterans, when there's so much opposition against the British Army, even though the British Army, they came here to serve and protect not just the British Unionist people of Northern Ireland, but also the Catholic and the nationalist and the Republican population of Northern Ireland, to save Republicans from themselves. I'd like for you to welcome on our screen Herbie Walker. And what I want to do is I want to begin talking to Herbie about why that it is that he felt the need to organise support for Dennis each and every time that Dennis would come, and about his relationship with Dennis over the weeks, the months, and the years, and up until his death. Herbie, welcome onto your screen. And Herbie, if you would just like to introduce yourself and talk about the group that you were involved in, and why that it is and why that it was that you felt the need to stand behind and stand with Dennis Hutchings in his hour of need. Over to you, Herbie.
So thank you very much, John. Well, John, my story goes back about 4 years, and I met this guy on Facebook, which runs a successive veterans and supporters unit group, FOSSI. And I went along with him, and at that time there was 5 soldiers. There was Soldiers A, Soldiers C, Soldier F, Dennis, and one we all still know about, David Holden. And when Soldiers A and C were acquitted, you know, I had been on the phone talking to Dennis even before that, but when Dennis, I knew, talking to Dennis, I knew he was a man of integrity. He was a man, you know, a man you could believe. This man had often to hide. He wanted to come to Belfast. He could have done things behind video link in England, but no, that wasn't Dennis's way. But the reason I really get into it was because, as Dennis says, it was made a lot political. Sinn Féin, IRA, made it political. Who was there to stand by our soldiers that fought for us during the Troubles? Not too many groups in Northern Ireland at that time. So when I joined that group, FOSSI, Veterans and Supporters United, I went along, we stood outside courts, we stood outside Stormont, we stood outside all over the place, John, and police headquarters, done everything to get the media's attention, the people's attention to what's happening to our soldiers in Northern Ireland. When we see the provost getting letters on the runs, but yet our soldiers are getting dragged through the courts. You know, that's the word, John, dragged through the courts. And all it is to appease Sinn Féin IRA. But I used to phone Dennis. One of Dennis's days to get dialysis was on a Saturday, you know, and I used to phone him on a Sunday. And I used to always apologize because, because he was always tired of that dialysis, you know. And he says, Herbie, if I can't take time to talk to you for what you boys are doing in Northern Ireland for us. And ever since that, me and Dennis talked frequently on Sunday. Then 3 weeks ago, I met Dennis over here for the first time. And as soon as I went up to Dennis and I started speaking, he knew me near right away. As soon as I started speaking, he went, Herbie, yeah. And ever since then, you know, we got a bit more support. There was, I had my own Operation Banner Veterans group there. There was Veterans and Supporters Unit group there. There was also a lot of veterans there in support of Dennis. And they've all be accredited themselves for what they've done and shown their support to Dennis at the court. And as you just mentioned there, John, standing outside Belfast Crown Court, you're only about 200 yards from the Republicans in the markets area. We were abused outside the court. We were called this, we were called that. But at the end of the day, we could not see the fight. We were there for one reason only, and was to support the men that came here and supported us in our hour of need during the Troubles.
Herbie, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Dennis was he was one great man, and he's actually left an impression on me that I will never forget. Never.
And, you know, I mean, I see in the live chat there, Herbie, that there's many people there that's congratulating you for going along to stand, you know, when other people actually wouldn't. And as I say, myself and Jim Werner, this week, we were to arrive in when we were going to come, and we were going to perhaps start to do a documentary on what was happening to Dennis. You know, whenever he was to come not too long ago, also a good friend of ours here, also a veteran, a guy called George Russell. I mean, he had talked to Dennis, and we had arranged to go and to talk to Dennis about his time here in Northern Ireland, not about the case because we couldn't do that, but certainly we were going to talk about his time in Northern Ireland and why that it was that he came to Northern Ireland, and why that it was that he felt the need to offer himself, to put himself in danger. But we never got to do that. We unfortunately never got to do that. What I want to do for the people on the live chat, also for the people that is watching this screen, and look, I'm going to appeal because I understand and I know that there are nationalists come to watch this screen. There are people from the Catholic persuasion that also come to watch what it is that we do at Restore and also at Forgotten Voices Media. And, you know, and I'm going to say something is that, you know, it is the extremes within the Northern Ireland society which are for their own selfish gain. They continue to agitate and to push and to drive wedges between ordinary people, and in a way that reconciliation is set back by decades. I'd like just to play a reminder of who that it is that actually is stirring things up. And let me just explain something. You know, at a time whenever Dennis Hutchings was being trailed, dragged out of his bed in his old age and taken through the courts here in Northern Ireland for something that he was found innocent of on several occasions, and the case continued to be reopened and reopened, even though there was no actual evidence against Dennis. And that's what we could see. And this is what his solicitor goes on to say, and we'll show that later on in this stream. But, you know, Dennis was you know, being made a political scapegoat, and this was being agitated in the background by Republicans in the way that they do best. And what they were doing and what they continue to do is that whilst they have immunity from prosecution, whilst they have on the run letters, whilst they effectively have an amnesty, they continue to stir the pot and to wind people up and to cause the circumstances whereby people in Northern Ireland can never find the circumstances whereby they actually can reconcile. And let me just play you a clip, and let's remind everyone of who this evil Republican movement actually are. And you know, this video is about IRA child abuse. And child abuse comes in many forms. You know, any ordinary person would think that you would permit a child to be a child, to have a childhood, and to grow up in the way that any normal person within a normal society would, but not these people. Just watch and see what I'm saying.
They say the skies of Lebanon are burning, those mighty cedars bleed in the heat. They're showing pictures on the television, women, children dying in the street. And we're still at it in our own place, still trying to reach the future through the past, still trying to carve tomorrow from a tombstone. But hey, don't listen to me, 'cause this wasn't meant to be no sad song. I've heard too much of them before. Right now I only wanna be here with you until the morning dew comes falling. Yeah. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand. And in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. They're raising banners over by the markets, whitewashing slogans on our shipyard walls, witch doctors praying for a mighty showdown. There's no way our holy flag is gonna fall. Up here we sacrifice our children, warn our dreams of yesterday, and teach them dying will lead us into glory. But hey, don't listen to me, this wasn't meant to be no sad song. I've sung too much of them before. Right now I only wanna be here with you until the morning dew comes falling. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand. And in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand. And in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand. And in the evening when there's no one around, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. And in the evening when there's no one around, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean.
And let me just clarify, whenever you see that Irish dancing group there at the end of the video, is that that was recently whenever they were commemorating and honouring a guy called Francis Hughes, a hunger striker. And Francis Hughes was a man who was involved in a murder in where a child was decapitated. Imagine that. and there's children celebrating and glorifying murder. What is it they say with reference to these Republicans? That they are offended by everything and ashamed of absolutely nothing. Herbie, as you know, that we've other guests sitting and waiting. Um, Herbie, I would like to just ask you if you could relate your feelings onto the live chat in terms of the man that it was that you were supporting. Whenever you met him, he wasn't too well. We all know that, and you told me that in a private chat that he actually didn't look too well. But yet you showed me some pictures, and I seen where he was giving you a huge hug, and he was laughing and he was smiling and he was putting on a brave face, even though that he knew things that we didn't, and that has just come out yesterday with reference him only actually being given 6 months to live, and that was the sole reason why he decided to come to Northern Ireland. How was it that you found Dennis whenever that you encountered him in the past few days and weeks, Herbie?
John, talking to Dennis on the phone, and the first time seeing Dennis, you could see he was an ill man. He put a brave face on to come to Ulster, to stand, because Dennis had nothing to hide. Looking at Dennis was like he was a frail man, but a heavy-hearted man. Dennis has left an awful lot of on me, on me, with meeting him on like every other day. And the smile on Dennis's face when he seen you standing outside the courthouse, waiting on him coming up the street. He always had that big smile for you, and he showed his gratitude. And even coming outside, having his, I think he always, it's funny, right up till he died, he always liked this wee smoke dance. And even standing outside the courthouse, he had plenty of time to stand outside and talk to the veterans, talk to his supporters. Dennis didn't care who he spoke to. Dennis was one down to earth man. And, if there was a lot more people like Dennis in this world, this place would be a better off. I'm not saying stock for words, John. It's just the impression that the man left on me after like 3 weeks, just coming in, not even 3 weeks, John. And just to even see that man after talking to him for so long on the phone, and I don't know how, it's shame on the British government and shame on Tony Blair has blood on his hands today, John. And there's a few other ones as well. Dennis had nothing to hide, nothing at all, John. He was an innocent man. He wanted to prove his innocence. But Sinn Féin IRA, they wanted to prove Dennis was guilty. Dennis was guilty of nothing.
So, sorry about that there. Yeah, okay. So I was just checking something there, so it was, and I was caught on the hop. Herbie, thanks very much for coming along, and I really do appreciate the fact that you've came here, and what you've did is that you've given people an insight into the man that knew that he had 6 months to live, that was here to clear his name and to solely clear his name. I mean, you've given us a good insight into how that the man was, a testament to the man. Thank you very much, Herbie. I hope that you can come on.
Say one thing before I go, John. There's many more soldiers. They're still getting letters while we see terrorists walking free. No matter how many soldiers get letters, our groups will be standing outside the courts supporting them as well. We'll be here for every single one of them, John. Thank you.
Herbie, thank you. And as I say, don't go anywhere because we've still a lot to explore, and we've got another guest on, and we're really going to get into another man that supports the Northern Ireland veterans, and for good reasons. And we're going to get into really talking about the wider picture and why that it is that the Northern Ireland veterans are being persecuted and prosecuted whilst IRA terrorists, whilst they have immunity from prosecution. Herbie, speak to you very, very soon. And if you would just like to, in your closing remarks there, just address the live chat and really give your goodbyes, and we'll see you very, very soon. And I do hope you come back, Herbie, to talk about what it is that you do in terms of the veterans work as you continue. Over to you, Herbie.
Okay. Thank you very much. And anybody wants to come and storm us at the court supporting our heroes, they're more than welcome, John.
Thanks, Herbie. Thank you. So there you go, people. I mean, that was Herbie Walker, a man that would have organised the support for Dennis Hutchings. And not just Herbie, but Herbie and his group. And they've done a fair good job whenever they did that. So don't go anywhere, people, because we have a lot more to come. And we have a lot more here to talk about in terms of Dennis Hutchings, because he's the man. He is the man where the focus has been in the not too distant past. And yet there are so many people that are lined up and teed up to be, we'll use this phrase, to be taken from their bed in their old age and to be persecuted and prosecuted, whilst the terrorists, whilst the lawbreaker, whilst they have immunity from prosecution. I would like for you to welcome on our screen a man called Roy Brinkley. And Roy, he's involved with the group, and he has been for quite some years. He's a veteran, and he's involved with a group, the Justice for Northern Ireland Veterans. And Roy will correct me if I've got the title wrong in any way, shape, or form. But welcome on our screen, Roy. And Roy, if you would just like to, thank you. If you would just like to talk to the live chat and tell people who you are, what it is that you're involved in, and why that it is that you're involved in that group, and just a bit of your history, Roy, and what led you to this stage.
Well, I'm a former Grenadier Guardsman. I've never served in Northern Ireland. My duty didn't take me there. I got involved in late 2015 when I went on a march, and I wasn't one for marching or protesting. That wasn't never me, and hasn't been since I left the army in 1979, 78, 79. But I went along a march for Northern Ireland veterans in London, organised by UK One Voice. So I went along on that march, and it was a bit of a mixed march. The Gurkhas was involved and other people. Although I've been involved in Gurkha campaigns since, I didn't go there for that reason. So I felt Northern Ireland veterans needed a group specifically for the guys and girls that served out there. So in January 2016, I started a group called Justice for Northern Ireland Veterans. It's now called the Justice for Northern Ireland Veterans Original Group for one or two other reasons. We started that, and it shot. You know, overnight we had thousands of people join us. We're 23 and a bit thousand strong at this moment in time. And all because I went on that march because I saw a story in the Telegraph telling Dennis's story. And it wasn't until 2016 that I contacted Dennis after setting up the group to ask him if we could be involved on by using his name as well, obviously. Dennis was pleased that we'd started a group. So I say it grew overnight, and we had our first marches, you know, a couple of thousand strong, to our largest march was in 2019 in London, where we had 30,000 on the streets, and that's before Rolling Thunder was involved with us. So that was foot soldiers. So really proud of that day, really proud of what we've achieved so far. And I'm really proud, more than proud, to have met Dennis. You know, everybody said what a great soldier Dennis was, but he was also a great human being, a great man, a great grandfather, a great grandfather. And I've met his family. They're a bunch of fine people who have fully supported Dennis in this struggle right from the very start.
Roy, could I just ask you? I mean, you're a veteran. You said that you'd never served in Northern Ireland,
No,
and could I just ask you? I mean, could you give us your opinion on the fact that you know law enforcers who were sent here by the British government, the MOD, the Ministry of Defence, to protect the people of Northern Ireland in what was, let's remember, it was effectively a war zone back in the early days. I mean, I was born in 1968, and I can remember the streets off the Shankill Road where I lived, and I can remember the battles that were being fought each and every evening, and during the day, the gun battles. You know, the throwing of the stones, the petrol bombs, the army stuck in between warring factions. I can remember whenever it erupted, you know, several times whenever I was growing up, you know, from the age of, I would say, maybe 2, 3 going forward. You know, could you give us your opinion on why that it is that the army was deployed here? And also, whilst that they were deployed here, did you ever envisage a situation whereby that whilst that they were in this war zone, whilst that they were often fired upon?
I mean, I joined as a boy, John, in 1972 down at the Guards Depot. So, to be honest, did I know about the Northern Ireland issue when I was a youngster? No, I didn't. I'm a country boy from the country, out in the wilds. I didn't have a clue what was going on, you know, in London, let alone what was really happening in Northern Ireland. I know that the British Army, was sent out there as a peacekeeping force and was welcome there to start with. You know, people bringing them out cups of tea and cakes and biscuits, and there was a welcome force. The dialogue obviously broke down at some point, and you go back to 69, John, and you just mentioned there when, you know, we had petrol bombs and stones, and people tell me, you know, from 69, early 70s and 70s, it was probably the worst time out there. But I was a boy recruit. Obviously, we used to watch the news because we're now in the army as a boy. So we used to watch the news and hear about, you know, the troubles out there. It was still far away from us, bearing in mind that I was still 15 and a half, 16. And we wasn't to join our battalions till nearly 2 years later when I was 17 and a half. But, you know, we saw soldiers getting killed, and you'd have the barrack room corporal or sergeant come in and say he knew that guy, or this has just happened, and tell us what was going on there. But did it sink in as a kid? No, it didn't. Did we all want to go there? Absolutely we did. Because that's what, we didn't join the army to fight like that, but we joined the army if we was needed in those sort of places, and there was a need for us out there, because it would have been absolutely bloodshed, you know, without the armed forces out in Northern Ireland at that time. Absolutely bloodshed.
Roy, yeah, and that's a good take from a veteran. And you know what we'd like to do at this stage, and this is so that we don't run on too far with this stream. We're going to run for perhaps another 35 minutes. We're coming around to the top of the hour. We'll run to 9:30, but we've plenty to talk about in that time. So don't go anywhere, people. And you know, if you're still on our live chat, if you're new to the screen, if you would give us a like, if you would give us a share, if you would tag your friends into the stream. Sorry. Sorry about that. I just touched something there by mistake. If you would tag your friends into the stream, what we can do is that we're going to learn some more about Dennis Hutchings as we go. And we're going to start and stop, and we're going to dissect this video as it goes. And I'm going to be asking Roy questions as we go. And this is a guy called Philip Barden. This is Dennis Hutchings' solicitor. And he was given testament as to why that it was that Dennis was here in the first place. And, this is stuff that we haven't heard before, and we wouldn't have heard this if it hadn't been for the untimely death of Dennis Hutchings just 2 days ago. So what I want to do, as I say, is I want to give this a go. I want to give this a play. And then we want to come back off the back of this. And we want to talk about some things. I just see someone on our screen there. And a good friend of mine and a veteran, right? And a man that I grew up with. And, and some people would say that there should be an amnesty for everyone. And some people say that there should never be an amnesty. And the reasons for that is that, that then gives the IRA terrorists equivalence with the armed forces. But I'm going to ask each and every one on this screen to ponder one thing, is that, and make no mistake about it, the IRA have an amnesty. And that amnesty isn't going to be taken away any day soon. So whilst that is the reality, I would ask people to think, what then for the veterans? Should they not have effectively an amnesty? Maybe we don't call this an amnesty. Maybe we do call this a statute of limitations. But believe me, people, there is something needing to be done very, very soon, because if we don't do anything, I can tell you right here and right now, and we do these streams regularly, and we do these streams, well-informed streams, and I can tell you right now, in the Middlesbrough area alone, there are 50 cases sitting ready to go, and Republicans have agitated them into place. And there's a man up there called Paddy Fox, an IRA terrorist. Yes, Paddy was a victim. His parents were killed. And Paddy, he divulged on Radio Ulster not too long ago that there was 50 cases in the Middlesbrough area alone. And who do you think those cases are going to be against? They're going to be against anyone who fought against IRA terrorism, including the RUC people, including the British Army, including the UDR, and loyalists. So why should we have a one-sided process? And I just felt the need to say that before that we move on. But we're here tonight. We're here tonight to talk about Dennis Hutchings. And Dennis Hutchings, I would say, he wanted to clear his name, and he wanted to clear his name in a way that it didn't matter whether he was being trailed through a court or not. And we've seen that. He was brought to Belfast. He came to Belfast. He insisted that he should be in Belfast to instruct his solicitor and to see the whites of the eyes of the men that would, that would make a case against him. And that was, again, a testament to the man. And as we go on, we're going to listen to Philip Barden here. We're going to break it down. We're going to dissect it, and we're going to understand who it was that Dennis Hutchings actually was. And believe me, people, when you hear this, I hope no matter why you're a nationalist, no matter why you're a Catholic, no matter why you're, well, we're not going to say Republican, because perhaps you're too far gone if you subscribe to that ideology. But certainly I would ask any ordinary person, are these the type of extremists that we should be supporting? Let's listen to Philip Barden and let's break this down as we go.
Yes, yesterday I called the ambulance at about 3 o'clock. Well, I've known Dennis for 10 years. He had a series of illnesses. He had renal failure. He had heart disease. He was in dialysis 3 days a week. So he had significantly reduced lung capacity. And then as a result of being out, frankly, in public, he caught COVID. And as everybody knows, COVID kills the vulnerable. and I watched him decline dramatically in the space of 5 or 6 hours on Monday. He went from being somebody with a cold to somebody who could hardly breathe. If there was a genuine concern for Dennis's health, well, then they could have had the trial in Exeter. They could have moved the court over. The judge, there were hardly any prosecution witnesses. This could have taken place close to Dennis's home.
I just want to draw people's attention and your own attention to, Roy, where the solicitor had said there that they could have moved the case to Exeter in order to facilitate this man who had all these complications, medical complications, and we know that it was dangerous for the man even to travel, and apparently that he even got advice that he might not even make it here, because of the stress of the traveling. But we hear the solicitor saying that perhaps the institutions, they should have facilitated the trial to be closer to home for Dennis, but no, they actually didn't do that. They didn't do that, and here we find a vulnerable man medically, and here we find this man in the circumstances whereby that he lost his life in order to try to clear his name. And we're going to hear as this solicitor's testament goes on. And you make up your own mind. I'm not asking people to listen to John Yates or listen to Roy Brinkley or listen to anyone, but you have to listen to this solicitor who is telling things from a standpoint as to where the case was actually heading and whether or not Dennis Hutchings was an innocent man. So let's play on.
We can now discuss what arguments Dennis was going to make in his defence at this trial. The charges were attempted murder. Can you step us through his version of events from that day that John Pat Cunningham was shot dead?
Certainly I can. Can I just say at the beginning that in order to be convicted of the offence of attempted murder, the prosecution must prove beyond any reasonable doubt that you intended at the moment you did the act complained of to unlawfully kill somebody. Last week in the trial, it emerged for the first time in 47 years that 2 of the rounds fired were what are called tracer rounds. Dennis's case, which I'll come on to, is that he did not fire at John Cunningham. So that would mean that tracer rounds were fired by the other soldier. Tracer rounds ignite, and they have a chemical compound called strontium. If you're hit by a tracer round, it will leave traces of strontium in the wound and on your clothing. There were field dressings that were at the scene. They were not kept. The clothing was not kept. So the prosecution had originally the material that would have enabled us to have proved that Dennis had not shot at this man, and that was lost. So it starts some 36 hours before, if I may, in that Dennis and 3 other soldiers are patrolling near a village called Egleish. They come across 8 heavily armed men. Dennis challenges them by bravely standing up and shouting, "British Army, you're surrounded. Drop your weapons." He's met with a hail of fire. His men return fire, and the individuals then fire back and then flee. He ends up following 4 of these men to a house where he arrests them. He doesn't shoot them, he doesn't hit them, he doesn't injure them in any way, he arrests them. That shows a man who uses proportionate force.
I would like to again draw your attention to what happened in Dalgleish, where Dennis's patrol was fired upon, and he pursued these 4 men, in the words of the solicitor, and he pursued them and he arrested them, and that was just before that this other man, this unfortunate victim, did lose his life. And we're going to hear as time goes on with this solicitor that yes, the man, the victim in this case, Mr. Cunningham, he he did have learning difficulties, and all that was said about him, according to the solicitor here, sounded like it was the truth, and that's what you would have heard over the course of the past few weeks. But then the solicitor says here that this doesn't look like a man that would be, he used proportionate force whenever he pursued gunmen, and he arrested them, and that was just within a short period of time before what had happened there in terms of the victim in question, for which Dennis was on trial for. So again, what we'll do is that we'll play on, but I'm asking the people on the live chat to listen very, very carefully to what this solicitor had to say with reference to Dennis Hutchings. And, whenever you hear this solicitor's testament, you're going to understand the man, Dennis Hutchings, in a totally different way. And, it's certainly, even although that I come from the standpoint with reference to the veterans, that I have many good friends who would have joined the British Army, that went and gave themselves to serve and protect the United Kingdom, to stand between any aggression that was coming the United Kingdom's way, and they were offering themselves, they were offering their own lives to serve and protect the people, whether you be in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. This is what these people did in a totally selfish, selfless way. Now, I come from the standpoint where I have always said, whether I had been speaking maybe at veterans rallies, where I had always said that if anyone should be in court for these things that had happened, and these are the things that went wrong here in Northern Ireland, but if anyone should be in court, should it be people like Dennis Hutchings, or should it be the British government who deployed them here in the first place? And let me give you my rationale for saying that, is that, a small point of law would be that if you go into a business, and if by the business's negligence in any way, shape, or form, let's say that an employee of a business was to drop a piece of fat on a floor. It was a butcher's shop, and someone walks in and slips and falls and breaks their arm. I'm going to ask the live chat a question based on a point of law. Who do you claim against? Do you claim against the business, or do you claim against the employee who dropped the fat? Well, we all know the answer. The answer is that you claim against the business because, and this is very important, because the business is ultimately responsible for the employees to which they employ. So ask yourself a question. If anyone should have been in court for the unfortunate murder of this man, Mr. Cunningham, who had special needs, if anyone should have been in court, should it have been Dennis Hutchings? Or should it have been the British government who deployed Mr. Hutchings to Northern Ireland in the first place? That's a question for the live chat, and it's based, as I explained, on what happens within society. So why shouldn't this be the case that the British government are ultimately responsible for the veterans whenever they deploy them anywhere? Let's play on.
36 hours later, there are army patrols sweeping the area around Bamberg, and they come across a man who is behaving suspiciously. They do not know, sadly, that John Cunningham suffered from severe learning difficulties. Nobody knew this. That's the tragedy. They get out of the vehicle. He has a fear of men in uniform. That's the evidence, and he runs. And two soldiers enter the field to chase him, and a third soldier's in the field chasing him. Dennis Hutchings fires a warning shot, an aimed air shot above him to stop him. He stops momentarily. He looks back and he sees Soldier C, who is closing in on him. Soldier C said at the time in a statement, he's long since dead, that he believed Cunningham was about to reach into his pocket for a weapon. There was some civilian evidence that John Cunningham may have thought they were playing a game, and he may have been doing that. The soldier cocked his weapon. He then ran again. He was getting close to a fence. Dennis Hutchings fired 2 more air shots above him, thinking that if he fired twice, he would stop him. At that moment, another soldier fired 2 shots and killed him. Dennis Hutchings went up to him, applied field dressings and tried to save his life. That's not the action of somebody who's just tried to kill somebody.
Roy, whenever I listen to that, you know, my heart goes out also to Mr. Cunningham. You know, the victim in this case.
Agree, yeah.
The victim in this case. And yeah, and the man, according to the solicitor, I mean, he did have the learning difficulties. And as I say, we're not here to suggest that nothing went wrong here in Northern Ireland, but let's remember, who was it that caused the circumstances whereby that Dennis Hutchings and the like of Dennis Hutchings was deployed to Benburb and surrounding areas in order to serve and protect the community, the ordinary, decent, law-abiding community. And still to this day, the same people who would cause those circumstances, namely IRA terrorists, well, they continue to agitate against the people of Northern Ireland in a way which is only designed to destabilise Northern Ireland.
What I'd like to...
Go ahead. Over
Sorry,
to you.
John. What I'd like to mention about Dennis and the court case, I've had many conversations with Dennis about the court case, and he would tell me this court case is not about him. Yes, he wanted to prove his innocence, but the court case wasn't for him. He used to sit there and tell me it was for everybody else that was following him. He wanted a not guilty, so it would hopefully bring an end to all the prosecutions in Northern Ireland of veterans. Now, Dennis could have played on his illness. He's too proud to do that. And he could have, I won't go into it, he could have said other things that would have killed the case. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to face his peers, which he never got to do because it was shameful. He was forced into a diplock courtroom with a judge only. But it wasn't all about Dennis's innocence. He did it. And that's how he came across to everybody. He was the front man, the man in the trenches that was fighting the battle for all veterans, including a grenadier friend of mine, Dave Holden, that are under the cosh of coming up next, in the courtroom in Belfast.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see over the coming days, weeks and months, what the fallout of what happened to Dennis Hutchings will be. And I mean that in terms of the very fact that he did come here and he was put in a vulnerable man, was put in the position whereby that, to add insult to the injury of Dennis Hutchings in the way that he was feeling, how that it was that they wouldn't even facilitate the man to bring the case maybe a bit closer to him. And I'm reminded, Roy, right now as we sit here, of several people from within the Republican community who have been effectively let off for very, very serious crimes against the people here in Northern Ireland, and all because that they had one illness or another. There was a man that was involved in the murder of the soldiers at Mazarine Army Barracks in Antrim. And, he took an illness, and before you knew it, it was his get out of jail free card. And he went on to continue to support the Republican terrorists. And then there was another man quite recently, without me mentioning names, there was another man quite recently who had the same sort of circumstances, effectively given I'm going to say a pardon.
People forget though, John, that Dennis had a letter, not from Tony Blair, but he was investigated and found not guilty twice of any crimes relating to John Patrick Cunningham. And he had a letter saying that he would not, and I've seen the letter, he would not be brought to face trial about this case ever again. His letter, in the end, was worth nothing. Yeah, people like Downey, and there's others that got their letters of freedom, on the run letters, whatever you want to call them, get out of jail letters. They've got theirs and they can use it. It's just hypocrisy of the highest form. You know, I heard that Philip Barden interview for the first time today, and I sat down and cried. It was, mate, it was heartbreaking. Dennis died alone. Do the governments of this country and the prosecutor Agnew of Northern Ireland, do they not understand he was 80 years of age with kidney and heart failure, and he died alone because they physically dragged him from his family home when he was cooking his grandchildren breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. 16 police officers who were supposed to take him to the nearest police station, but no, they sneaked him off to Northern Ireland. Yet Dennis was such a risk. When they stopped for a comfort break, he was allowed to go outside and have a cigarette on his own. It was such a danger that these 16 police officers had to take him, yet they allowed him to go outside for a cigarette. It was persecuting Dennis on the back of Sinn Féin, IRA, rattling the drums, because they, without doubt, want any British soldier. Dennis would have been a good one for them, but they want any British soldier to be tagged guilty, and then they can say, we told you so. We told you these Crown forces were murderers, and that's what they aim for. They don't care if the next one's not guilty. They just want one that they do find is guilty, and that's why they will never stop. And I heard you mention about Lewis's thing about amnesty. I don't want to call it an amnesty because I understand, there are victims out there on both sides, but there are victims more on our side, women and children, victims of bombings through all out our cities on mainland, abroad, and in Northern Ireland were victims. They want some ending to all of this, and they wanted their ending in a courtroom as well. Well, we've all had 45 years to try to do that, and I set up this group with one thing, and only one thing was in our criteria, and Paul Del Young has been our spokesperson for the last couple of years now. We said it from the start, from 2016. Our cause is only to stop the prosecutions of Northern Ireland veterans. We can't get involved in other worthy causes as well. I'm not saying they're not worthy, but we've got one cause. And I'm quite proud to be part of the Northern Ireland Veterans Movement that will hopefully bring this to an end. Dennis wanted it to bring an end, and he wasn't convinced at first. But in the end, he came round to the thinking that it was the only way we're going to stop this. Then if anybody doesn't like it, then we're all in the same boat. But you said earlier, Sinn Féin IRA have already got their amnesty. They've got their on the run letters. They've been let out of jail after a year or two for murder. They've got their freedoms, and it's mainly online veterans. Not online, mainland veterans that are going through the persecutions and prosecutions. We haven't seen IRA members being dragged to court at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's as Philip Barden or as Dennis said earlier, the British Army was great at keeping records. I'm sorry if I'm going on, but I just wanted a few bits that I had just got to get out.
On.
The British Army were good at keeping records. The Loyalists and Republicans, they never kept records. They didn't write down when they was going to go out and put a bomb under your car and kill people. They just went out and did it. Every patrol was logged. Who was on that patrol? The rounds were counted in, and when they came back, the rounds were counted back out again. And every single contact was logged. Who fired what round and how many? I heard about the tracer rounds. I mean, I never did 20 odd years in the army. I fired tracer rounds, but I've only ever fired it from one weapon, and that was a general purpose machine gun. I've never seen a tracer round fired from an SLR. Yes, it would fit in an SLR, of course it will. It's still 7.62. I'm sure that there may be somebody out there that will put me right on that. But tracer round was every 5 rounds on a Jimpy belt, general purpose machine gun. So where after 42 years have they found 2 cases? And again, my thoughts about a round is a bit like my pen. If this was the case, that's the tip. The tip of a tracer round is red. The rest of the shell case looks like a normal round. It's got 7.62 stamped on the bottom, and it's a normal shell case. Unless you have that round tested to see what's inside it, you never know what was inside there. Because I say, the bit that was red, that was tracer, that's a bit that was fired off and shut off. So where has this evidence come from? But they're very good at pulling evidence out from 40 years later. They're very good at people remembering things when they was 12 years old, they couldn't remember. All of a sudden now they can, excuse me, John, they can remember stuff. It's a farce. The whole lot of it is a farce. And the sooner it's brought to a standstill, hopefully the people of Northern Ireland can get back to some sort of normality. I'm not sure if that's going to ever happen, because I don't know, you know, I've got good friends out there and they tell me it's not great at the moment. So I don't know. But let's get this stopped. Let's get these prosecutions and persecutions stopped. And I do feel honestly, and I didn't always feel this way, but I do feel honestly the statute of limitations, to draw a line in it for both sides, is the only way. If we catch the people that killed all them soldiers at Warren Point, the maximum sentence they can get is 2 years. So are we going to spend the rest of our lives and millions of pounds chasing somebody for the sake of 2 years, when really, that you know, lifetime without seeing daylight or a hangman's rope would probably be better for them, but that ain't going to happen. 2 years is the maximum sentence, and that's the most they could have given Dennis. So all this chasing that poor man since 2015, chasing that man, and his family and his grandchildren have grown up through this, from children that was round his house that morning for breakfast to young adults now, to teenagers. And that's no way for that poor man to have lived his last few years. And Dennis, we already said, I had loads of conversations in person, over a beer, over a coffee, on the phone, where I used to say to him, Dennis, they are not going to be happy until they kill you. And he knew that. He knew that, well, in my conversations with him, what he had with other people, I can't answer. But in my conversations with Dennis, and I say, I've known him quite extensively. He's been on all my marches and spoken all my marches, that he knew that in the end, they wanted him dead. And I think the British government are implicated in that. They wanted him to shut up. They wanted him to go away. And if it meant him dying beforehand, well, that washed their hands of it. Oh, he's dead now. We can't help him. Because this statute of limitations, whatever we want to call it, wouldn't have helped Dennis anyway. It's not going to help people that's going through the court process. It will only help people that are set up for it or future victims of this court process. And Dennis knew that it wouldn't have helped him. So whether it came today, tomorrow, next year, hopefully in the Queen's speech next May, it'll be sorted. But it's now the time has got to come to end. And you said earlier, and I fully agree with you, John. I don't know if you saw me nodding. I feel sorry as well for young John he was young. We say young because he had a mental age of 14 or 15. But John Pat Cunningham, I feel for his family. And I think his family have been very dignified from what I read and listened to through all this. And I've seen Dennis at the court where he appealed his Diplock trial in London, the appeals court. He spoke to them and they spoke to each other with great dignity to ask if each other was okay. So I witnessed all that. There was no animosity between Dennis and the Cunningham family. And from what I witnessed, there was none coming back from them. They lost a son that day, but don't blame the British Army. Don't blame Dennis. Blame the IRA Republicans for putting that kid, I'd say that kid, that mentally handicapped child of 14 to 15 years of mental age in that situation. And I've always said it, and I did a little video yesterday about it. I always said it. They put him there for a reason. They set that John Patrick Cunningham up to test what the army response would be. And I think it was hoping for what happened. They didn't care about Patrick Cunningham. They didn't care. It was just a way of getting at the Crown Forces and say that they saw it. And they got really what they wanted. So I do, if they ever get to listen to this, I do really feel for your family. And I hope you can come to terms with it. And I noticed you did a very dignified response today when you said that now is not the time for you to say anything. Hope when the time comes, you carry on being dignified, because I know Dennis was with your family. So, sorry, John, I went on a bit of. I just wanted some bits to really that I covered, because he was such a great man, but not only as a soldier, as I said before, a gentleman, the smartest guy. You know, he would tell a joke with anybody, and he would never turn anybody down for a photograph, a little picture, a little selfie. I never saw him, and he was like a hero to us all. He was our beacon. You know, a lot of people thought Dennis was Soldier F. I kind of spent half my life saying, no, Dennis is not Soldier F, but Dennis is Dennis. He's not Soldier F. Because a lot of people just believed that he was. He stood there as a beacon, not just for Dennis Hutchings, but for the whole veteran community. And he was loved by everybody for what he did, for what he said, by his actions. It was such a proud man. And I wish I'd served with him. He was just a great guy. And I was absolutely shocked when the news came through that he'd passed away, when Paul Young messaged me to say that he was to keep it quietly. It's not out there yet, but, you know, it died. And to hear from Philip Barden today on that message, that interview that he did, that Dennis died alone, mate, that is disgusting. That is the worst of the worst. Nobody in this world should have to die alone at 80 years of age. If you've got family, you shouldn't be dying alone. I don't believe that even if you've got COVID that you should die alone. I think you're allowed a member of the family there. Dennis never got that. He never got to say goodbye, which is heartbreaking. And you did tell me what's to follow, John, and I'm going to be like you, mate. I'll be joining you when you play the bit at the end. I won't give it away because it's heartbreaking, mate. Absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't think I'll ever get over this. Yes, the fight will go on until the end. But once it's over, myself and a lot of other people, it's taken a toll on all our lives, personal lives as well, because not everybody agrees with what we do or how we do it. And we do take a bit of rubbish, everybody. So I've seen the stuff that's out there. So as soon as this is over, I'll go back to living my life. Because I was, as I said right at the very start, I wasn't a protest guy. I wasn't one for Facebook guy, just for my family, and that was it. So, but I won't stop halfway through or 3/4 of the way through. We're nearly there now. I just hope if you keep pushing it, John, and other people keep pushing it, I think even Mercer, Johnny Mercer, who's come on board kind of late in the game, but he has come on board, will push that as well. And it's not his ideal thing, but we just need to stop it. Let's all get back to our lives. There's other things happening in the world that we need to, we worry about, instead of planning our next demonstration. And understand there's just one more thing, John. I know you may want to ask me some more questions, but one thing I want to get off the chest. Paula spoke to Dennis's family today. Dennis's family do not want any discourse. They do not want any trouble out the streets. There's people out there at the moment forming up groups it's under the same banner, a memorial ride, and causing problems by camping out on Westminster Bridge, Parliament Square, blocking roads and all that. The family has said they want nothing to do with that. I want nothing to do with it. He won't be promoted on my group. Dennis didn't mind playing around the edges, sometimes a little bit rough, but Dennis wouldn't have wanted all this either. Let's think about memorials after the funeral. And I see that his family have announced it will be everybody welcome. Well, I hope it's the biggest church in England, because there's a lot of people will be going down there. And the family have always said, don't worry, there's big fields next to the church. It will fit thousands of cars and bikes. Well, it will need to be, because we'll be there to send Dennis off and give him the send-off that we all know that he deserves. And just a shame on the government and others. Agnew, the prosecutor, just dragged this till he killed him.
Roy, thank you very much for that. And, I was happy enough to let you go because, as someone had just said there were very pertinent points that you had raised. And you give us an insight into the thinking of Dennis in a way that no one else could, because, as you said, you've talked to him many, many times as a result of what it is that you do. Look, I'm not going to prolong this. And I know that there's a lot of stuff in the live chat which we should be dealing with. And other things that we should be dealing with was whenever you mentioned the likes of John Downey, well, look, we have video footage of a man that was actually blown up by John Downey, and look, we're not going to get into that this evening because this is about Dennis Hutchings, and we were here to remember Dennis. That's what we're here for. So what I would like to do, Roy, is I would like to just play us out quietly with two things. And I'm going to ask the live chat to literally zone in to what it is that we have to play in terms of two pieces of video footage here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little testament in remembrance of Dennis Hutchings, the man that, even though that he had only 6 months to live, he decided that he wanted to come here to clear his own name. And by doing so, set the bar for any other veteran that would be persecuted and prosecuted. And for what? For coming here to Northern Ireland in order to serve and protect the community. And that's no matter what side of the community that you would come from. So I'm going to say no more. And Roy, if you would just like to address the live chat and you would just like to thank them for listening. And over to you, Roy. And whenever you do that, I'm playing us out with these two little videos. I'm asking everyone to stay. I'm asking everyone to leave your messages on the live chat, because no doubt Dennis's family will look at this, and just leave your thoughts in terms of your thoughts with reference the measure of Dennis Hutchings and the likes of Dennis Hutchings, who would come here to Northern Ireland in a totally selfless way. Over to you, Roy, to address the live chat.
Well, John, first of all, thank you for inviting me this evening. All I want to say to Dennis, mate, I was proud to know you. I'll never forget you. My family will never forget you. And the veterans will never forget you. And what John's got in store for you now, you'll never forget what John's done now. It's heartbreaking and it's emotional. And I'll remember this and share it, guys. Once you've seen it, share it to every platform you can do, to all your Facebook groups, your private pages. Let everybody get to see what Restore has done this evening for Dennis, because it's you're in for an emotional ride. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Roy, and I hope that you'll come back with us in the coming weeks to talk about the work at the Northern Ireland Veterans, at which you run there. Now, people, yes, look, get some hankies at the ready. Our good friend Jim Werner, a man that works in the back row store, he put this together today, and after that you watch this, we're going to then play you out with Dennis's own words from 3 weeks ago, in where that he tells us that he had only 6 months to live and he wanted to clear his name. Thanks very much for coming along, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
a major effect on me and my family. You know, I mean, basically it came out of the blue after 40 years. They said, well, contact your lawyers, but I didn't have any lawyers because it was 40 years since the incident, of which I'd been cleared, you know. They were supposed to take me to the nearest police station to be held, and they didn't. They took me to a police station which is called Bridgewater, where they put me in the cell there while they went and had their lunch, and then they came back, picked me up and took me to Bristol, and then flew here. I was held in Antrim police station for 4 days. I was questioned 26 times, when you're talking about 45-minute interviews. And no new evidence was ever produced. I just thought, what the hell's this all about? This is the biggest load of crap going, I'll tell you. I've been a courtier numerous times between 2015 and now. I've even been in front of a judge who threw out the charges, an attempted murder charge, and 6 weeks later, I get dragged back in front of a different judge who reinstates it. One judge throws it out, he reinstates it, you know, and that's when this thing became, to me, purely political.
Isn't it fair that if there was wrong done in the past, that people must be brought to justice?
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And, you know, but let's talk about justice for people, families and all that. But at the same time, let's talk about the justice for the 18 soldiers killed at Warren Point. Has there been an inquiry into that? No. What about the people that was killed at Inniskillen? Families, men, women, kids. Was there an inquiry into that? Yeah. And plus the hundreds of other incidents that have gone on, committed by both sides, some of them, you know, but they're not investigated the same as what they're trying to investigate the military, who are sent here by the bloody government to do a job.
What, in your eyes, then, has led to this situation where soldiers are being brought back decades later?
Because we're easy targets. Everything, you know, the soldier does, from the minute a round is fired, a shot is fired, it's reported over the radio. It's logged in a logbook in the control room. Then the conversations, as whatever happens, gets done exactly the same. So there's a record. Talking about the other side, the terrorist sides, there is no records. My consultant has given me roughly 6 months to live with the problems I've got. So that's why I want to get this done before I die.